Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, classic crime, Goosebumps and a 5-star read. It's my weekly wrap-up. So I have a packed Saturday morning today, so I'm going to try and get through this video in one take and not have to do any edits. We will see if I manage it or not. So normal format for this Saturday video. So I'll talk about what I've been reading, talk about what I'll be reading next, and also talk about what's been on the channel and what is coming up on the channel. So let's dive straight into the books then. So the first thing I finished this week, and I have talked about this already on my March wrap-up video, is The Dark Tower, the final book in the Dark Tower series. So I finished this last weekend, really enjoyed it. I am going to do a review of the whole Dark Tower series at some point, maybe even this coming week. I'll talk a bit more about that later. So yeah, I thought this was really good. I liked it as an ending to the series. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it was a solid ending. After that, I read some classic crime. So I read The Thin Man by Dashiell Hammett, which I enjoyed, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting. It's a bizarre mix of kind of knockabout screwball style comedy and like fairly noirish, fairly dark crime. So, you know, a classic mystery novel written in the 30s, written right at the end of Prohibition, and the characters imbibe a huge amount of alcohol throughout the book. In fact, I think if you took a drink every time a character in the book takes a drink when you were reading it, you would be dead by the time you finished the book. You wouldn't finish the book because you'd be dead. But yeah, it was a fun read. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I read it for a special project, which I can't talk about, but which hopefully you will see something of on the channel in the future. So yes, The Thin Man, anyway, a 4-star read, definitely not a 5-star read. It did have its flaws, but I thought overall it was really good. I then read my 5-star read of this week, which was Idis Dar by Patricia Highsmith. This was phenomenal. So as I keep talking about on the channel, I'm doing this read through of all of Patricia Highsmith's books with Anne from the channel, Anne Novella. This is a fairly late Highsmith, so this came out in the 70s, I think. Yeah, 77. So we're getting towards the end of her writing life now, and this is definitely more of a kind of literary style of book than most of her books. It does have some crime elements to it, but they're much more subtle and low-key than they are in many of her books. But this was just phenomenal. So it's one of the bleakest books I've ever read. It was really depressing, really moving, but like in a good, like depressing in a good way. It was interesting. It made me quite reflective. So it's about this woman, Edith, who lives with her husband and son. They move from the city out into like kind of a suburban area, fairly rural area. And it's just about their life. It's just, and specifically about Edith's life. And about her diary. So she keeps a diary, and at various points through the book, you will get excerpts from her diary reflecting on, you know, what's been happening in her life. I don't want to say anything more than that about it because it would, you know, there's definitely a risk of spoiling this book. But I really thought it was wonderful. I thought this was an excellent book, and it shows what a great writer Highsmith was. I've enjoyed, you know, all of the books I've read by her so far to varying degrees. I think this is probably my favourite. I thought this was truly excellent. So I really can't recommend it highly enough. After that, as is often the case, I read something completely different. So I read a Goosebumps book. So I read this for Old School April, the nostalgic readathon and watchathon being run by Kelsey from the channel Simon Slashers. So the one I read was, I can't remember what number it is. I think it's reasonably early. I think it was kind of in the teens or 20s. It came from Beneath the Sink by, of course, R.L. Stine. So a really quick read. I read this literally in a train journey. So I started it in the morning and finished it before I got to work. Actually, that's not true. I think I started it the night before. I think I read the first chapter before I settled down the night before, and then read the rest of it on the train journey. But just, they're really fun, the Goosebumps book. I'm too old to have read them as a kid. Sadly, I think I would have loved them as a kid. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. So it's about, as often seems to be the case in Goosebumps books, this family moved to a new town. So similar to the start of Idis Dar. So they moved to a new town. they've got a new house, and there's two kids. There's Kat, who's a girl who's like the main character, and her younger brother who's slightly annoying. They find underneath the sink this sponge, which turns out to be this weird creature that like has a curse on it, basically, causes problems. So the book is about them trying to gradually coming to understand that this is a weird creature, and then B, trying to figure out how to get rid of it. It was just a fun, quick read. That is the last thing I finished this week. So I'm currently reading two things. So I'm reading The Vinyl Detective, book 5, I think it is, Low Action, by Andrew Cartmel. So this is really, really entertaining. So the Vinyl Detective series is a series of books about this guy who is a record hunter. So people hire him to find rare records. And invariably he ends up getting mixed up in a mystery. This one is about a friend of his, who's like a character in one of the previous books, who's a rock star, is dating this woman who used to be in a punk band, so was in a female punk band back in like the heyday of punk in the 70s, and she believes that someone is trying to kill her. So they hire the Vinyl Detective to to try and figure out who's trying to kill her and prevent that from happening, clearly, but also to find the lost first pressing of the band's first album, which was quickly withdrawn from sale. So you've got kind of two different strands to the story, and it's just enjoyable. They're really fun, these books. They're quite funny. They're reasonably fast-paced. The mysteries are, not the best mysteries ever, but they are entertaining. And the characters are great. They've got this really nice kind of found family vibe. So the Vinyl Detective has all these people he kind of hangs out with. You get kind of in-jokes and things like that as you read the series. They're just a very enjoyable, kind of slightly cosy read. So really enjoying that. I'm also reading, or so far I've been listening to this as an audiobook, The Wind Through the Keyhole by Stephen King. So this is I can't remember if it's the fourth or fifth chronologically book in the Dark Tower series, but it was published after the rest of the books. So I'm reading it after having finished the main part of the series. I'm really, really enjoying this. It's slightly cosy. It's definitely got creepy elements to it, but you've got like the main characters from the Dark Tower series kind of together again, and it's just nice hanging out with them. But there's also this fantastic story within a story structure to it. So effectively, Roland, who's the gunslinger, is telling the other characters in his gang this story about when he was a young gunslinger and went on a mission basically to track down this monster that had been terrorising a small town. So it's got that section of the story has got kind of a nice, almost like a police procedural kind of vibe to it as he and his partner investigate this series of killings. But you then also got a story that Roland is told, I think, either tells or is told, I can't remember now, in the past. So I'm in the section of the story that is this long story, which itself is called The Wind Through the Keyhole, which is a really enjoyable kind of fantasy-ish story. So it's a really nicely constructed book, really well written, really, really enjoying it. So yes, I will talk about that soon. So I am planning, as I've said before, on doing a video where I talk about all of the Dark Tower books. So if I get this finished this weekend, which I'm intending to, then I may try and film that video tomorrow and get it up on Thursday. If not, you'll get a different review on Thursday. And then in the week ahead, once I've finished the Vinyl Detective book and The Wind Through the Keyhole, I think next up will be The Ritual by Adam Neville. So this is the pick this month for my patrons and members book club. Should you want to join us and read The Ritual with us, there's links in the description to this video to how you can sign up and join either my YouTube channel memberships or my Patreon. So small monthly fee, but you get a ton of additional content. So yeah, if you fancy joining us for a group read of this, it's supposed to be fantastic. The people who've read it already are praising it to the heavens. So really, really looking forward to reading this. And I do have Andrew Neville's most recent book, All the Fiends from Hell, to read as well. So I may try and squeeze that in this month too, if I really enjoy this, which I'm expecting to. So yeah, that's what I have been reading and going to be reading. In the week ahead, in the week just gone then, on the channel you've had a review of The Kindly Ones by Jonathan Littell, a huge and very troubling and disturbing book, but an excellent book. You also had an unboxing video for this, a colour e-ink reader, the Big Me Ink Note Colour Plus, which was sent to me by by the company that make it, Big Me. So I did an unboxing and first impressions video on this. I've been using it this week. I've been doing a lot of my Kindle reading on it this week, and I'm really enjoying it. So I will be doing a review video at some point in the next couple of weeks. I don't like to rush those like techie review videos. I like to give the devices a good workout before I talk about them. But my impressions so far of this are very positive. I'm really enjoying using it. So yeah, you had my unboxing video of that. You had my March wrap-up video and my April TBR video. And speaking of April, you also had a video I did about Richard Lehman and how Richard Lehman is, very famous internationally and revered in France, and how there was a theme park dedicated to Richard Lehman in Japan in the 80s. Purely by coincidence, that video went up on the 1st of April. In the week ahead then, you've got a book haul video, which I filmed ages ago and keep on pushing back because other things keep on creeping into the schedule. So I'm pretty sure that will go up this week. I've got a bit of a kind of viral cold at the moment, so I'm not feeling great. So it's nice to have a video in the bag that I can put up. So that'll be going up. I've also got the Off the Top of Your Head booktube tag, which is like just me answering, I think it's 10 kind of random bookish questions, which was quite fun to do. And then I've got a couple of other things. So either that, hopefully I'll do that Dark Tower review video I mentioned. And I'm also going to do, there's been a couple of videos I've seen recently about people leaving booktube and about how difficult it is sometimes to make booktube videos. So I've got a couple of thoughts on that. I've got 2 recommendations for people, which I think are useful things to think about if you're either starting a channel or you've got a channel at the moment and you're finding it a struggle to keep making content. So hopefully I'll get that filmed as well. Anyway, I think I've got through this video without the need for any edits, so that's good news. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you've been reading this week, and as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.